waking up in the morning and checking the date. It's Friday the 13th. For some people, that realisation creates an immediate feeling of unease. It might postpone important meetings, avoid travelling, or joke that something bad is about to happen. Others embrace the day watching horror films, sharing spooky stories, or even getting themed tattoos. But here's the interesting part. Statistically, Friday the 13th is no more dangerous than any other day, yet the superstition is so powerful that millions of people still change their behaviour when the date appears on the calendar. So where did this belief come from? Why does the number 13 feel unlucky to so many people, and why do some traditions, especially magical ones, actually see Friday the 13th as a powerful or even lucky day? Hello pagans, I'm Chameleon Jackson, and today we're going to talk about Friday the 13th.
Many beliefs about number 13 can be traced back to mythology and religion. One commonly cited example comes from Norse mythology. According to legend, 12 gods were attending a banquet in Valhalla when the trickster god Loki arrived as an uninvited 13th guest. Loki manipulated the events that led to the death of the beloved god Balder. Because of the story, gatherings of 13 people are sometimes believed to bring bad luck. A similar association appears in Christian tradition. At the Last Supper, there were 13 people at the table. Jesus and his 12 disciples. One of them, Judas Iscariot, later betrayed Jesus. Over time, these stories helped reinforce the idea that 13 was associated with destruction or betrayal. The fear of the number 13 even has a name, triskaidekaphobia. One reason the number 13 may feel uncomfortable is that the number 12 has historically represented balance and completeness. For example, there are 12 months in a year, 12 zodiac signs, 12 Olympian gods in Greek mythology, and there are 12 hours on a clock face. Because 12 feels complete, 13 can seem like an extra number that disrupts that whole pattern. However, not every culture sees 13 as unlucky. In some traditions, it's a neutral or even lucky number, showing that superstitions around numbers are largely cultural. So we're all familiar with superstitions around the number 13, but what about Fridays? Friday itself has gained a reputation as an unlucky day in European folklore mainly. In Christian tradition, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ took place on what's known as Good Friday, and later folklore claimed that tragic events like Adam and Eve being forced out of the Garden of Eden also happened on a Friday, though these texts are not found directly in biblical texts. Because of this reputation, sailors and travellers sometimes avoided beginning journeys on Fridays. So why is Friday the 13th unlucky? The idea of Friday the 13th as a particularly unlucky day became popular relatively recently, especially during the 19th century. One factor may have been in literature. In 1907, a novel called Friday the 13th told the story of a financial panic deliberately triggered on that day. As newspapers, radio and later films spread the idea, the superstition became deeply embedded in popular culture. There's horror franchise Friday the 13th, and that helped cement fear between the date and bad events. So let's look at this from our perspective as Richard. Interestingly, not all traditions view the number 13 as unlucky. In many modern pagan and witchcraft traditions, 13 is considered sacred because there's usually 13 full moons in a lunar cycle. There's also a widespread belief that a witch's coven traditionally contains 13 members, but this is a bit of a dodgy fact. It's more symbolic rather than universal to everyone. Friday itself has got a magical association as well. The day is named after the Norse god Freya, who is associated with love, fertility, and a magical practice known as Seder. Because of this connection, some practitioners consider Friday a powerful day for magical work. Cultures all around the world have developed ways to ward off bad luck. These include doing things like knocking on wood, carrying a 4-leaf clover, keeping a rabbit stuffed, or throwing salt over the shoulder after spilling it. In magical traditions, herbs such as rosemary or sage are often used for protection. A simple protective ritual sometimes performed on the Friday the 13th involves lighting a white candle, placing a circle of salt around it and focusing on protecting while sailing, May harm be turned away from me, may light luck and light surround me. Rituals like this are often less about supernatural power and more about focus, intention, and psychological reassurance. Psychologists often explain the superstition through confirmation bias. If people expect bad luck on Friday the 13th, they're more likely to notice problems or accidents that happen that day, whilst ignoring many other ordinary events. Another explanation is self-fulfilling prophecy. Anxiety about the date may make people more cautious or distracted, which can influence their behaviour. Interestingly, a study published by the British Medical Journal found that fewer people travelled on Friday the 13th, but hospital visits and traffic accidents appeared slightly higher. Researchers suggest anxiety about the date might play a role in that.
Hello, it's Chameleon from the future. I started recording this on the 11th of March, and I did my script writing on the 11th. I started recording on the 12th, and I plan to upload it on the 13th. So whether that happens or not now is a different thing. But at about 2 in the morning, Hal came running up to the bed and woke us all up because it turned out that we had a massive leak in our kitchen. At 2 a.m. on the 13th, Friday the 13th. Is that a coincidence, or is that bad luck? You tell me.
Several dramatic historical events have occurred on Friday the 13th. One famous example happened in October 1307 when King Philip IV of France ordered the arrest of the members of the Knights Templar. Another occurred in 1922 when a plane carrying the Uruguayan rugby team crashed into the Andes Mountains. Survivors endured extreme conditions for over 2 months before being rescued alive. This story later inspired the film Alive. Friday the 13th is more humorous and frightening. One popular legend claims that the British Navy tried to defeat superstition by launching a ship called HMS Friday on Friday the 13th. According to the story, the ship vanished without a trace, but historians say there was never any evidence of it in the first place. In modern times, tattoo studios celebrate the date of 13-pound tattoos, turning supposedly unlucky dates into successful events. There have also been many cases of people winning the lottery on Friday the 13th. In fact, the Euro Millions actually has a special prize for tonight. Some coincidences connected to the date have added to its EU reputation. During the Second World War, Buckingham Palace was bombed on Friday, September 13, 1940, while King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon were inside. Another strange coincidence involved the space mission Apollo 13. The mission launched at 1313, and 2 days later an oxygen tank explosion nearly caused disaster in space. While these events are coincidences, they contribute to the myth that the number 13 is somehow true. Some final thoughts on it. There's a couple of surprising facts. Friday the 13th occurs at least once every year, and sometimes up to 3 times in a single year. In fact, statistically, it's the most common date for the 13th day of the month to fall on in the modern calendar. So the day many people consider the unluckiest is actually one of the most predictable. It tells us something that's maybe a little bit important. Superstitions like Friday the 13th reveal less about fate or luck, and far more about the stories humans create to make sense of the world. Thank you for watching, pagans. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like below. I don't know how the hype system works. I don't know if that's included on my channel or if there's got to be a bigger channel for it. But if it does, if you could leave me a little hype, that would be fantastic to push me into the algorithm. Leave a comment below and subscribe if you like. I'm always happy to respond to any comments I get, and have a spooky Friday the 13th.